Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Sheffield United way. After a 1-1 draw with Brighton and Hove Albion at the Amex, we are back with another live fans react video. You might be noticing that my voices are slightly of a lesser decibel in this one because my son's in bed. So yeah, it's Hal's fault because Hal normally does these videos. Anyway, as we always do, this is an extension of the match reaction, but we like to get as many fans on as possible, especially away fans. Alex, how are you doing, mate?
I'm doing well. I'm good.
We've already had a little chat about the shirt because that is the European shirt. You boys are absolutely flying at the moment. And the last time kind of we saw you before we got into the Premier League, you weren't the team that you are now.
No, yeah, we are doing well. I think Europe is having a bit of an effect on us. Like we haven't won a Premier League game, I think, in 6 games now. But that's life. We don't have the squad depth. But yeah.
Well, it seemed like you had the squad depth, especially early on, because we were looking at that first 11 and there weren't a lot of names that I knew in that first 11 when it came up. And I'm thinking, do you know what? I think we've got a little bit of a chance here. And then 5 minutes in, it felt like curtains already, to be perfectly honest. Did you expect to absolutely walk all over us after that first 5 minutes?
Do you know what? I did. When a Dingle got that, he sung that in. I was like, it's going to be like 90 minutes of this. And then it sort of just wasn't. The gas was turned off and nothing really happened after that. We had a few chances, but they weren't set. And it went the way you saw.
Yeah. So before the game even started, I'm expecting that this is a game that you guys expected to win yourselves.
Do you know what? I literally, I bought the ticket after you guys got beat. I think it was quite a bad defeat. I think it was like maybe a 6-1 or it was quite a bad one. And I was like, oh, I have to go to that game. We're gonna smash them. This is why it's even worse because I've texted Hal and I was like, Hal, I bought tickets to the game. Like we're gonna, and then yeah, and well, that's what happens if you're too big-headed, I think.
Yeah, to be honest, I've got a lot of mates that are Wolves fans, and when we played Wolves, I was fearing the worst the other week, and I just texted my mate and said, "You're going down," and it's like I had absolutely nothing to kind of back that up. But you just need a little bit of rivalry every now and then, don't you? And yeah, especially with Hal because he can certainly talk the talk, Hal. So yeah, it's fair to give it him. But like I said earlier, that 11 that you started with. Did you expect that 11 to be as dominant as what you were for the first sort of 65 minutes?
Do you know what? I sort of I went to pre-seasons. I've been these newer players that you see at pre-seasons, you see at Europe, you see them maybe they're not in the Premier League, but I've seen the talent that they have. Some of the younger guys like Adingra, they've always had that sort of spark, and it's nice to get them actually starting. Well, yeah, starting games for one, and then actually getting some of them coming on is really good. Do you know what? I believe in them, and that's one thing I really like. I do believe in the younger ones, especially. We've got the old boys like Lallana, Milner, just sort of like dragging them up with the experience. So I do think these younger guys coming through, I think they're our future, and and that's why positively I can look forward and think I think we're right here.
Yeah, you've got a lot to be proud of, especially like I said, in the first 65 minutes, we just couldn't get the ball off you. It was very, very tough. And obviously you handed us a route back into the game with that red card. What did you think to it, first and foremost? Because obviously you've mentioned that you went to the game. So from your vantage point, what did you think of that red card? Were you giving the ref some grief?
Yeah, I was calling him a cheat. I was calling him. I was like, no ways, that's a red. I was so far away, and because I was like right in the corner, and that was on sort of on the other side, and I was just like, there's no way that I didn't see anything. There's no way that's a red. How can you? I was like, for a minute, I was like, surely VAR is going to look at it and be like, no, that's. And then I watched your match of the day, and there was no doubt. It was a red. It was definitely a red, and it actually made me feel a bit better because I thought we got. Before I watched it, I thought we got cheated. And then I watched it. I was like, nah, it was a red.
Fair enough. At least you're going to admit it. There's a lot of fans that wouldn't admit that, even if they thought it was red deep down. I'm going to bring Pompey in. How's it going,
Pompey? Yeah, fine, thanks. How are you? How's Nick and hi, Alex? How's things? All right.
Yeah, I'm good, thanks.
You're feeling
let's
a
just
little
pretend
bit. Yeah.
not had a chat off camera before this. So Pompey,
This is the face of a 1-1 victory, by the way.
It's a little bit sad thinking about that, though, isn't it? Because we are absolutely buzzing to draw a game. It's it's not great right now. But Pompey, the red card, how did you see it?
It's strange because I kind of got, obviously I'm watching it at home, and there was a tussle in midfield, and we saw, I can't remember the Blades player around him, but he saw him go to the ref straight away, and Osborne went down in a heap, and I thought something's happened there. And then the replays really clearly showed that he dug his foot in. I don't honestly think he meant it. I think he meant to sort of capture the ball and caught Osborne, but when you put 10 studs down the back of a player's socks, you're going to go for it. It's dangerous play. You are going to walk for it. We've seen John Fleck go for something like that before in the past. John Fleck at Bramall Lane has gone for a dubious challenge like that. He's had a straight red and he's walked, and the Blades fans have been absolutely dumbfounded as to why. And then you look around the replay, you think, well, yeah, seen him given. You're looking at best a yellow card and a telling off, and at worst a straight red and you're off. So for once that kind of decision's flipped in our way, and I was pretty pleased because obviously it was a game changer for us. We started to smell blood, and once we started to see Brighton making the adjustments, I think we went to 4-4-1 then. I kind of tried to park the bus. I think we readjusted our formation and went at it, and uncharacteristically got something out of the game. I was really, really pleased about it.
Yeah, and I'll bring Jimmy in as well. How are you doing, Jimmy?
All right, thank you, pal. How are you? Evening, gents.
Yeah, very
Hi, Jimmy. All right.
Yeah, good, so, Jimmy, what did you make of what Alex said, what Pompey said? What are your takeaways from that red card as well? Because I still to this day do not know what he's tried to do even.
Well, before I get to that, in terms of what the guys have said before I've come on, I want to know what's a European shirt. What's that all about? What is one of those?
We don't play in it.
We haven't got one.
Yeah, I don't think we ever will.
Well,
but
let me just say before Alex answers that, we have a promotion-winning shirt, and I assume
you've got one, Nick, haven't you? You've got one. You've got one, Nick, haven't you? Yeah, I've seen it.
He got one sent mint, I think, direct.
No, I didn't, Jimmy. So, Alex, what is a European shirt?
So it's just a celebratory shirt. I did think or hope that we were gonna play in it maybe, but we play enough in our away kit, which is the green sort of after 8 mint looking like shirt. And but no, it's not on FIFA. It's not on anything. It's just a celebratory shirt with the Brighton Pavilion at the bottom.
It looks very nice, mate. It looks very nice, and congratulations for your continued success as a club. We went into that game at the weekend not expecting anything really, and before the game, I'd have said a point at Brighton was the absolute most we could have asked for, and I've come away disappointed. And I know that's controversial.
More, honestly, we crumbled. Yeah. Like, we weren't even getting 2 passes together towards the end, and I was thinking, yeah, we're in trouble here.
I know. If we'd have gone for the jugular, I genuinely think you were there for the taking, which is ridiculous to think because you're a much better squad than us. Obviously, your foundations are a lot more solid than ours in the Premier League. So if anybody had said that before the game, I think all 4 of us would have laughed. But at 70 minutes and then we score, I think we're on top and we need to go for the jugular, and we didn't do it. And the fact that we were hesitant frustrates me. I understand it because obviously every point for us is precious. But I think we've thrown away enough points this season already that we need to start taking some chances in games like this, particularly when you're there for the taking. And I was just really frustrated that we didn't go for it. And people will see that as me continuing my Hecky out campaign, which is not the case, by the way. But I just think, well, everybody knows my opinion on it, Pompey. Yeah. But that's, that's by the by. I genuinely think we had the chance to take all 3 points in the last 15, 20 minutes of that game. And we were just a little bit shot shy when we had a chance to go and nick it. So as daft as it sounds, I'm a little bit disappointed with just the draw. But listen, when you say that out of context, it's very easy for people to then say, this guy's ridiculous. We went to the Amex and we got a point. We couldn't have asked for much more. And I understand that as well. So I do get it.
You definitely said, Jimmy, I saw a tweet of yours that said when the Brighton team came up, you're like, let's go and have them, or something like that.
Beatable this, by the
Beatable,
way. That's what the tweet said. And I think you'd said similar, hadn't you, Nick? That this it was not their strongest set. Alex, you'll be able to confirm it, because like Nick, I don't know everybody's names, but I saw Mitoma were on bench, Dunk's out, Ferguson's out. I see a lot of big names not in that first 11. And yeah, you might have some. In fact, we all know you've got great youth and you buy fantastically well, buy cheap, sell high, and all that. But I don't know them, so I can't be afraid of them. Let's go. Let's go for it and see where we go. And you absolutely bossed us for 70 minutes.
Are you suffering from a post McAllister hangover though? I mean, it's a serious question, because he was quite a significant player for you.
Well, it's Caicedo as well.
The midfield, the midfield is where we used to be so good in that midfield point. Yeah. And that is, I think, we are. I think we're doing pretty well with wingers, even in centre back stuff. But the midfield is where I think we really are sort of. We're still not recovered yet there, but we've got great potential coming through. But we're not there at all. Not at all.
yeah. I mean, obviously we are suffering from our player exits as well. Because I do think we'd be doing slightly better had we hung on to Ndiaye and Berger this season, and just for the effect, we've got massive holes in our midfield, and I was just wondering if Brighton are suffering the same kind of thing, because without a doubt those two players were really, really influential, and also strung a lot of the. I always saw Brighton as a very progressive side. They would get the ball up the pitch quick, and it would be at the feet of the players, which is something we're really rubbish at. We don't take the ball out of defence, and we don't take it up the pitch at players' feet, and we don't put people in. And that's where Brighton used to capitalise, I think, when they had these two players in the side. They used to play fast attacking football, which is what we've been promising to do for about 60 years, I think, now. Something or other.
Yeah, but, I don't want to be rude about any players, but the fact that we're having to start Lallana, for example, he shouldn't have to be starting. And this is
I was surprised. I
were insulted by that lineup. I thought he took it lightly, but he were right though. I know you're laughing.
Jimmy, we would love to have Adam Lallana.
We would, but they're blatantly they've got an injury crisis and they're still resting the best players. So I think that is a slap in the face to us, and we should have used that to galvanise us. But let's be right, if the sending off doesn't happen, we lose that game. We get comfortably beaten, probably 2 or 3. So it's
if we'd have carried on playing as we did, because let's face it, in the first half we were getting cut to pieces by Brighton. Brighton were just punching holes through the midfield, and they were attacking from all angles, and we had no answer for it. The first goal came from exactly that. They were just punching holes, and all we were doing, we were trying to shore it up. Once the sending off happened, I've got to be honest. What we did against 10 men, we could have quite easily have done against 11.
Yeah,
all it was confidence and being able to correct. Well, you've seen it before, and you've mentioned it in your podcast before. Is seizing the game by the scruff of the neck and shaking it physically, rather than just sitting back and thinking we're playing a Premiership side full of real stars here. No, you're in the Premiership, guys. Go out and play a Premiership game. And once the sending off came, we started to play some Premiership football. We were attacking in various areas, and it all came down the flanks. And Brighton, when they went to 4-4-1, looked frightened and outnumbered. Once our goal went in, it was like you could see it in the players' minds. It was like, for God's sake, don't lose this game, because the fans won't forgive us for it. Sheffield United, this is.
Since we lost to Newcastle, we've been beaten since the game's kicked off. We have certainly gone into those games thinking we're going to get beat here, damage limitation, and it's ruined us. We haven't recovered yet. Obviously, the last couple of games we've got great results, but we're in a really sticky spot.
Yeah, absolutely agreed. I just want to quickly nip back to Alex and ask Alex before we leave you, or you leave us, should we say? We're not going and leaving you on a Sheffield United channel. I can promise you that, mate. Before we leave you for the evening, I want to know first and foremost, were you surprised how the Blades kind of galvanised after that kind of red card? Because obviously you'd seen nothing from Sheffield United to think that we were going to try and go for you.
But like you guys said, I think it is actually confident. You guys there was a switch, and then as soon as that happened, your players were like, yeah, we can have this. And if you guys went into the game saying we can have this, then you might have had it. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, and that's the thing. Like, obviously we lost a player, but we could have defended, but like we couldn't even pass 2 passes together. You were intercepting, and that's what we do well. We play out the back, and then we started to play out the back, but weren't passing it properly. And then you guys had, when that 90th, like when that whistle went, I like breathed a sigh of relief, because if that game had gone on 10 minutes longer, whatever, I think we'd have lost it. You guys were getting the chances. Our players, they were, unfortunately, they sort of just crumbled towards the end of that.
Yeah, absolutely. And my last question to you, Alex, before you go, is Hal normally does this. He normally throws out the question and asks, where are you going to finish this season? But I want to make it a little bit more spicy and ask you, where are you going to finish, and where do you think we're going to finish?
You can be honest. You can be honest.
You can be honest.
We're fine about it.
No, because it's a hard time, because we're going into international break. Hopefully we can get some players back in time. But right now is a really good time to play us. And if we haven't won a game in over, I think, 6 Premier League games now.
Six games.
So this isn't looking good at the moment. So I would want to hope we finish about where we are now, 7th, and do all right in in Europa. And then I think you guys, unfortunately, I think you'll be relegated, if I'm being honest.
Wow.
But
which position?
Best humour ever at the end. They were singing "We're not the bottom of the table anymore," and it was hilarious. I loved it.
Brilliant. Love that, Alex. Love that. Anyway, we've kept you a little bit longer than what we probably should have done. So enjoy your evening. Good luck
Alex.
for the rest of the season, because I don't think we've got anything against Brighton. And I think we all probably want to emulate what you guys have done. So, very well done with the football club, Alex.
Thank you. And I did enjoy the game at the end of the day. I genuinely did. So, I hope you guys do well. And you don't get relegated. I don't want to see you guys get relegated.
Thanks, buddy.
Cheers, mate. Thanks. We'll probably get you on later on in the season.
Good luck, Alex.
Cheers, mate. See you soon.
See you later. Bye-bye.
Just
right,
read it,
let's bring in Drew. Finally, Drew's been waiting in the wings for ages. And sorry, Drew, it's because I don't like having more than 4 people on the screen, because it all goes a bit weird. So that's why you're in now. How are you doing, mate?
Yeah, I'm doing well. I'm glad to be back on. It's been a while since I've hopped on. So yeah, it's good to be back.
It has been a while, and I was looking around thinking, who have we not had in a while who's really, really good? And he wasn't available. I'm joking. Drew's obviously bad.
Away for that. Waiting for it.
Anyone who knows me knew that something like that was going to happen. Anyway, so let's take it back to basics. For 65 minutes of this game, it certainly wasn't scintillating football from the blade. So how do you think, this is aimed at Drew, how do you think Hecky, what do you think of what Hecky kind of, first of all, put out there, and what style of football were we playing? Because I certainly didn't see one.
So yeah, I mean, to be fair, I was happy with the lineup that went out, but I feel like my view's been pretty consistent on Hecky since the championship. So being from Edinburgh originally, my friends are Hibs fans, so I know what they thought about Hecky in his time there, and I'm glad that I've been proven wrong, obviously, in his time since he's come in. But if I'm being honest, that season that we went up in the championship, again, I believe that we had the squad that should have been going up anyway. Granted, that's not to say that he's not done a bad job, and he went through the embargo and did well and got us over the line. It's still to be commended. You have to get out of the division, and that's what we did. But if I'm being honest, there was I remember looking at a lot of those games last seasons against the Bristol Cities, where we were nicking 1-0 wins, and we nicked a 1-0 win against Hull. And against Rotherham, we didn't even beat Rotherham, teams like that. And we had Njai, we had a really good squad for the championship. I just don't feel, and this might be me again if I'm wrong here, I just don't feel like we really do have a style of play. And I feel like coming into the Premier League, obviously still buzzing that we got promoted, of course, they're Sheffield United, my team. So but I did have worries in the back of my mind of how we were going to go about it. Slow start in January, and now we're here now, and it feels like we need to just be reminded that, listen, we're there on merit. We played well and we got there. We're kind of playing like a cup team where we're just going, right, let's get the ball forward. The typical kind of not just Sheffield United, the Yorkshire team who just boot the ball forward and just try and work hard. You know, it's again, it was the kind of similar thing that we're just completely inviting pressure on us the whole game, and not just in Brighton. It was, you know, it'd be like Wolves, Man United. We always, like people have said, it almost feels like we've kind of gone, well, it's Brighton, so we need to give them all this respect, and we need to kind of sit back and try and pick them on the counter and stuff. Where we do actually have some decent players that can do something. So, I mean, obviously, buzzing with a point, and I know Jimmy said this as well. Like, again, I would have snapped your hand off for a point, and I'm buzzing that we've got 4 points in the last 2 games. But again, I don't want to be super negative, but I still have a lot of question marks over this team. And I think obviously, it's great that we've got the international break now, take those points, but I think these next 2 games are going to be massive for us. And let's see what they can do on a team where they should be near us in Bournemouth and Burnley, and see how we play, and then I think we've got a better clip size to see where we're ending up.
Yeah, absolutely agree. Right. We'll get onto that in a little bit. We'll go through the game a little bit as well before we get there. So early on in the game, on the match reaction, I said this because quite often you get that one chance early on, and then you are like, we didn't take it. Is that the best chance we're going to get? And Gus Harmer, it was just like, how did that even happen? Where the ball's played across the box in the air. It's right on his head. If he puts that away, we're 1-0 up and we are sailing off into the sunset and sitting 11 men behind the ball. But it's little chances like that you don't take that then can cause you problems later on. Obviously, it didn't, but we created absolutely nothing in that first half, Pompey. What did you make of that first half?
Well, the first half was a very typical Heckingbottom, and I don't listen. I'm a bit 50-50 on Hecky, but it was a typical.
He's listening right now, by the way.
Is he? Oh, yeah. Hi, mate.
Evening, Hecky.
It was a typical construction of what he could muster together from a pretty injury-ravaged side. However, we did see very deep, and the big holes in the midfield, and also the ability for, you know, the likes of Adringa and Buonanotte to come in from on the flanks and beat our wide defenders for pace and for skill, and to carve massive holes. I watched their I think it was Adringa again, who he ran straight through in between Norwood and Sousa, completely unchallenged towards our box, and neither of them kind of came together in a pincer movement to sort of cut him off. They kind of watched him, and Norwood did his usual pointy bit, and then suddenly he's facing the back three, and he's clear on goal. You know, he's clear to do a 1-2 and put them 2-0 up. And as soon as we managed to snuff that out and get the ball wide or get it back to Sousa or someone and move up the pitch with the ball, it's launched up the pitch to Archer, who's playing cards with the back four again. For him to chase, we just lack. It's, as I say, it was a typical first half, which was indicative of what we've always kind of had bred into the side. It's this hit and hope, as I think was mentioned earlier on. Hit it up the pitch and not take the ball up the pitch at the feet and create 1-2 passing angles and actually retain possession, keep the ball, because as soon as we went towards our halfway line, we lost it, and it was back at us again, and that was 45 minutes of that, and again, you know, how we went in sort of 1-0 down at 45 minutes. I was quite surprised. It was more indicative of Brighton's profligacy with chances really than it was of our skill of keeping people out. I mean, Wes made a couple of good saves, and you know, but they just kept pressuring us, and I feared for the second half. The second half didn't start very well either, you know. So again, it was where we finished the last game with an absolute flourish of aggression and attack. We failed to pick that up and go at them in the second half, regardless of the early chance, and we just let Brighton come at us. It must have been so easy that as was said earlier on with the Brighton, the guest commentator. They were expecting to smash us all over the park, and it looked like that was going to be the way. By 25 minutes, I was like, "Oh dear!" I was texting my mate, and he was out at the time, saying, "This is not looking good at all, you know, at all."
No, absolutely not, Jimmy. We obviously went in 1-0 down at half time. Do you think we deserve to be 1-0 down?
I think we were lucky to be 1-0 down, to be honest, mate. I think, we can breathe a sigh of relief. We were absolutely dominated, and it's the second half started exactly the same. The concern for me is things didn't change after half time, and we were still second best to everything. So I'm like Pompey, and when I saw the lineup, Drew said the same. I were happy with the team. And I don't think he could have picked a better side from what we've got available. So I have to give him that. But it's how they play together and knowing their individual jobs. And there didn't seem to be any cohesion in the side at all. There was no style of play. Like Pompey's talked about, we were lumping high balls up to Cameron Archer, who's 5'8", 5'9", against these big 6'2", 3".
There's three in there, isn't there? Sorry to cut you off, Jimmy. There's Archer,
right.
there's McAtee, and there's Harmer.
Yeah, and that's if they're going high
all of them below 5'10".
Yeah.
Do you think the lineup? Do you think the lineup was right, Jimmy? Do you think actually to come in as question area? Do you think the actual formation was right? Because we, as far as I could see, it was a 5-3-3-1-1 with McAtee in the kind of Duffy role. He was kind of drifting across the pitch. It wasn't a kind of a 5-2-2-1. It kind of went 3 across the back with 3 across the midfield with Sousa, Norwood, and Harmer. And in front was McAtee trying to make the link. Yeah, it was. But he was forced back into that 4 across. So we were effectively forced into playing 5-4-1, which I just think invited Brighton to come back at us. We've had no outlet.
It did. I could understand it though, because that was the second half against Wolves, and that's what saw us across the line. So I can't in hindsight criticise that, because I agreed with it at the time. I think, like you say though, Pompey, it shifted towards being a McAtee in behind Archer rather than McAtee and Hamer. And that surprised me even further when McAtee came off for Slimani, another midfielder. When they've gone down to 10 men, why aren't we throwing a striker on and going for it? I just did not understand the mentality. The concern I had was because that's exactly right. That's exactly right.
I think this is what you're kind of getting at here, and we're all trying to get at, is the fact that Hecky does set up for us to try and not lose and not try and win. And that does seem to be leaking into the players' mindsets as well.
What my main concern is, and I know this, people have sort of really gone for me on this Eki out thing, and I do have concerns about Eki. I'm not convinced by him, if I'm honest. The glaring concern for me was we improved mid-game, second half, mid-half. It wasn't a galvanising team talk or a tactical tweak or anything else like that. It was the players recognising that have now got a man advantage, and that galvanised them. That gave the players confidence. The management team should be giving the players confidence to go out there and think they can beat anybody. Not the fact that, right, they've got a man sent off, so now we know we can get on the ball and we can start to control things. Why aren't they thinking that anyway with 11 men? Like Pompey says,
do you think the captaincy's right? Do you think the captaincy's right?
No. To be fair to Norwood, George
Yeah.
Baldock's my captain. I think George Baldock is absolutely glaringly obvious.
Do you think the players care about a captain because they all should be captains on the pitch? Do you think George Baldock doesn't act like a captain because he's not the captain? He does.
I sometimes think it's symbolism though, mate. If he's leading the team out, I think that it can galvanise the fan base as much as anything, as well as the players. You should be vocal now, and I don't think the armband makes a massive difference per se in the 1 to 11. But Ollie Norwood's not going to be a vocal leader. I think he acted like a captain against Wolves. I can't say any other. I think stepping up to take that last-minute penalty, taking responsibility off Archer, and if he'd have missed it, he knows where he'd have got. So that's fair. He has got huge coconuts for stepping up and taking that. But I don't think he's going to be a vocal leader. I might be wrong, but I don't think he's a booming, inspiring voice like George will be. We all know George will be, come on, boys, we need to do it. We need to get... And that's what we want as fans. So maybe even if it's just to lean into the fan base being more on side with a leader such as George, then maybe that, even if it's a 5% gain, why aren't we doing it? Why aren't we taking every little advantage we can?
Do you think that could affect Ollie Norwood, though, if you strip him of the captain's armband? Because everybody will know what's happened. If he's playing and George is playing and George has the armband, is that going to have an adverse effect?
I'm not saying you have to make him captain now. I'm thinking maybe that's a mistake in judgment that's happened when Egan went down. So the time to make George captain was when George returned from injury at right centre-back, because he would have been the captain then. Whenever he was fit after Egan went down, that's when you should have given George the armband. You can't give him it now because you're stripping Ollie, aren't you? So you're right. it doesn't work anymore. But we're saying decisions that we would have made, or I would have made. I don't know if you guys agree, but I think George Bollock is a better choice of captain. I think Colin McBurney is probably even a better choice of vice captain. And I know he splits opinion, but you can't say he's not invested in the club and in the team. And it's sometimes, who's to say Ollie Norwood isn't just as invested as those two players, but it's sometimes what you project on the field, I think, and it has an effect.
It's all about leadership. It's all about leadership out there. You know, when the chips are down and when you are starting to, when the opposition changes their formation and they're coming on the attack on you, it's about you getting inside the other players' minds and getting them to concentrate and also to play to their best and make the right decisions. You know, if you're out there and you're a vocal, projected leader, you do have an effect. You've only to look at, you know, there's been some legendary captains in the past, and I don't even go back to bloody Brian Robson, for goodness sake. You know, that guy ate and bled football, and his voice was heard all over the pitch, and he got inside other people's minds, and everybody was facing the ball, everybody was facing outwards, you know, repelling all attacks and getting the ball up the pitch and moving it up the pitch. And I don't honestly think Norwood's got that. I think George has, and you're right about McBurney. Goodness me, he would eat his guts for breakfast if he got that armband on, providing he can stay uninjured.
A big part of Wilder's success was signing either Player of the Year for their own club or captains or both. So he would pick the leaders out of those dressing rooms and strong characters and strong performers and cherry pick them from lower leagues, and that were a big part of his transfer strategy. Didn't do badly, did it? So I
didn't.
don't think
but the problem with that is
figures.
These players that Wilder brought in, who had those captain capabilities, were obviously going to be 26, 27, 28 and up. Now they're all going.
So why haven't we continued that strategy though, Nick? In terms of why aren't we cherry picking a 26-year-old out of the Championship now, who's in his prime, who's a leader, who's a captain? You know, I don't know how old's Matt Grimes. He's just an example. I'm not saying he steps up, but that sort of player where we should have maybe signed him 2 years ago, because he's a really strong Championship player, can grow with us. He's a leader. Yeah. You know, that sort of ilk. I'm not saying he works in the Prem now, but these are the sort of targets we'd have gone for in years gone by, and it's just not happening.
The problem that we had was the transfer. What we're trying to do with the transfers was policy was that we were trying to bring up these Brighton players, these young players, talented players, but we didn't address early enough the starting 11. I think we kind of just bought these players and thought, let's hope that they're good enough for the Premier League, which is ludicrous to think that. So we brought in these almost Premier League ready players that we've got starting for us now, like Archer, and I say almost Premier League ready. They're not tried and tested in the Premier League. So we're bringing in these players last minute, and we've cherry picked them as in their quality, but we've not kind of brought in those players to replace Sharpe, to replace, I'm not saying Bash, because obviously Bash is injured now, but we didn't know that was going to happen. But we need, like you say, we need those voices on the pitch. And I think sometimes the powers that be don't really understand things like this in football. They're not in the dressing room. They don't know what happens in a dressing room. And actually, we don't know that, because everybody's nodding away when you said about taking it and giving it to George. But we don't actually know if Norwood is a bad captain or whether
that's right.
The players might all be bought into what Norwood's doing. So we don't know ourselves. I think we're probably all right. But yeah, anyway, let's try and move on a little bit, because we kind of got stuck on this. And we're trying to talk about Brighton and Hove Albion now. So let's talk about that second half, because obviously we got a lot of joy out of that second half. I think the first problem that I saw was that they were bringing on João Pedro and Mitoma at half time, and I'm thinking this is going to be curtains. What did you think, Drew, at that point?
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly similar. Like, just these are players that obviously are performing at a high level, and I think we got lucky again, fairly lucky again with their schedule. I mean, even if we played them on Monday, it still would have been a difficult game for us, and with that 2-day gap from them playing in Europe. So it was only going to make sense if we were going to rest players. But yeah, as soon as they came on, it was, again, I just got that shiver of going, all right, here we go. Yeah, that's it now, and they're gonna turn the screw. But again, I'm quite surprised at Brighton kind of not even with 10 men. They could have probably could have, like, if they wanted to take the game to us and keep going, they probably could have. But so I'm surprised. I'm obviously glad they didn't. We managed to get something from it. But yeah, again, the class is completely just on show, and it was going to be tricky. But I think we got out of jail. I think Freak are quite lucky there, and they didn't have the impact that they were obviously wanting.
Mitoma was frighteningly good. I was starting to have really bad feelings of him versus Bogle. It was
Bogle was given the runaround in the first half,
and he was swapping wings. He was going up against Thomas, and he was coming this side, then he was cutting inside. And our sort of wing backs were, you could see as soon as he appeared in their windshield, they were like, oh dear, and he was just ripping past them. It was frightening. Oh, to have a winger or attacker like that, with speed and guile. It's that proper ability to see the gap and get through it. Past two players, in fact.
They said on commentary they're bringing these two on now just to finish Sheffield United off, and they were 1-0 up at that point, and that's what it felt like. Just watching them come on. Yeah, they're here to kill us off.
The thing is, though, at that point they were still in second or third gear. I don't think they got out of. Definitely didn't get out of third gear. They may not have got out of second gear in the whole game. Wes obviously pulled off a few good saves, and they cut through us a few times. But I think, they could have easily won that game 4 or 5-0 if they'd have put a little bit more into it. I just think they completely wrote us off. And even when they went down to 10 men, I still don't think they expected us to come at them like we did. No. And that's a massive, massive credit to the players, because like you said, I don't think it's anything that Hecky's said or done to get them going. And maybe that's what they needed to kind of galvanize themselves for the next game and the next game and the next game. It's like, we can take this to these players. And they probably knew coming off of that pitch that we could have done this against 11. But we've already spoken about the red card. It was a bit of a crazy one, something that he certainly didn't need to do, the Brighton player, Dahoud. So let's move on from that, and let's just talk about I'll come to you, Pompey, now. Ben Osborne obviously came on 10 minutes before the red card, but a lot of people out there are talking about Ben Osborne as like the second coming of Jesus right now because of how good he was. But I think it was just Sousa was very lackluster on the ball. He always is a little bit lackluster on the ball. Sometimes when he's trying to break away, we've seen it. I think it was the Man United game where he picked the ball up on the left. There was no one around him, and he just kind of waited for someone to catch him up. Whereas Ben Osborne was taking the ball by the horns and getting the ball moving just a little bit quicker. So what did you think to Ben Osborne's cameo?
I've been ongoing trying to be impressed by Ben Osborne. There's been areas where he's actually been man of the match and he's played out of his skin, and it's been little Ben, and he's run it in the midfield, and I've been like, wow, we've got a player here. And then he drifts through the next couple of games, and he comes on as sub, and it's like, oh gosh, it's Ben again. But when he came on, and you're right about Sousa, I am still trying to find the quality that we're meant to appreciate with Sousa. He's a big old unit, and he's meant to put himself about that midfield and be a little bit of a dominator in that midfield to do all the spade work that Norwood shouldn't be doing, because he should be the ball player, etc. But you're right about Sousa's pace and his ability to see what's happening around him. It seems to be really limited. Now, as soon as Sousa limped out of it, I thought, yeah, okay, who are we going to bring on? And it's always first choice for Hecky, isn't it? Little Ben comes on. And he came on, I thought, all right, here we go. And to be honest with you, I think, all right, the red card, he was involved in that. And also his presence in that left side of midfield was very instrumental in us pushing forward and actually stopping Brighton coming at us again. Because suddenly, I don't really notice, around about just before and after we scored the goal, we were kind of camped deep in their half, and Brighton didn't have an answer, because they'd gone to 4-4-1, and they were basically trying to contain what we were doing, and we were coming back at them for a change. And Osborne was involved in that, and he came off. I mean, how many? He went on around about 56 minutes, didn't he? So he only had sort of 30 minutes or so. Come off, his shirt was dripping wet. All right, it was raining, but you could see he'd actually worked himself into the ground. and it was a good, impressive performance by little Ben. I was really impressed. He was part of our victory, even though we didn't, as Jimmy says, we didn't capitalise on the chances that we could have created. It was a lot of what we put in that second half was down to him.
Yeah, absolutely. Jimmy, I just want to ask you one question. I don't want you to be too negative here because I'm setting you up here to be negative. When they went down to 10 men, did you expect that sort of Blades domination?
No, not at all. Not at all. And I was massively, pleasantly surprised by the upturn from all the players. That's not setting me up to be negative, mate. I think we surprised even ourselves, to be honest. Certainly the fan base weren't expecting it. Considering the 70 minutes that we'd just seen before it as well, it were absolute dross, to be honest, against 11 men. And then it seemed to just, they've got a red card. We've got a chance here. We can get something from this game. And that's why I was disappointed that we weren't more attack-minded in our tactics. So the players did absolutely everything they could to attack. And with the setup that we had, I think we were moving them around and we were creating spaces. And obviously, Bogle should have scored and put us 2-1 up. We all know that. But I think we could have been helped by a tweak in the formation, putting another striker on instead of... I love Slimani. I want him to get more chances. But I wouldn't have put Slimani on at that time. I'd have been putting a Sula on and I'd have been going for it because I think they were there for taking.
Yeah, completely agree with that. My next question to Drew was, could we have won it? And Jimmy's obviously just answered it there for you.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, I agree that it was again, like he's pretty good, to be fair. Like, you know, at Bogle, you know, when he gets it, when obviously we have that chance in the final third, like he has pulled out some like really like technical goals. So when he got there, I was just thinking like, he's got to score it, and you know, it's great play between Archer and McAtee as well to get it in. And again, it shows as a quality, and I know they will be, but like I hope they just watch these clips back and stuff and just show that they, you know, get that belief up and go, we're actually an all right team. But yeah, he has to score it. Obviously, it's high pressure situation. You know, he's got the goalkeeper right there, but you know, who knows? Even if we score, who knows if we continue to win the game, we don't know, but obviously it's a massive moment, and yeah, it was a bit of headed hands at the moment, and as soon as it went wide of the post, but yeah, I'm sure he would have won that one back, but one of those, isn't it? But a point's a point. You don't, it's like you know, especially in the Premier League, comparing it to the NFL, like you don't apologize for how you win or you draw. Like in the Premier League, you just get the points, you get out there, and like I said, you know. Yeah. I know we should have got through, you know, it would have been great to get through, but, you know, again, a point, you know, it's better than nothing. So, but yeah.
Pompey, the big question of the video, are you going to get own goals on the back of your shirt end of this season when they have been the top goal scorer?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's a thought, isn't it? I mean, I'll tell you what it is. And this is Sheffield United over the past few seasons, we are, and the reason own goals are the top scorer is the fact that, again, I go back to the midfield and I go back to the playmakers. We haven't got playmakers. We haven't got these people who can dribble, who can run up the pitch. And Dye used to do it all the time, and so did Morgan Gibbs-White. We haven't got them anymore, and we haven't got the players who will actually attack. And we haven't got people who will ferry the ball the good 60 yards in the middle of the pitch and then lay it off and bring people in and set that killer pass to McBurney or to Archer, or even to what's his name, that young lad who spends a lot of time on the injury bench. So we haven't got that. We haven't got that ability to feed that killer pass. And the other thing about it is this: we are desperately rubbish at the dead ball and crossing. We always hit the first man. It doesn't matter who hits it in, and it's got to hit that target area. Look at what Ward-Prowse did over the weekend. Look at his crosses. Dangerous they were. They went on people's heads. He even picked out what's his name, the West Ham forward in the middle of the box, and he's 5'9", 5'10", and he picked him out with pinpoint accuracy, and we just failed to do that. We failed to hit these target men with either a ball at the feet, a run onto a pass, a chance. You know, we've all sat in Bramall Lane, and we know when that ball runs past the defender and it's at the foot of a striker, everybody's off their feet, and we fail to have that moment. And that's the reason like own goals, the opposition are the top scorer, unfortunately.
Just to kind of jump in on that, Pompey. Honestly, it's any set piece. I think like it happened.
Yeah.
It happened at the start of the season last season when we played Watford. It's not just the set pieces being really poor, and they are. I think I remember putting a tweet about it when a few weeks back. We don't beat the first man, but then it almost seems to be straight after that we are under the cosh, on the counter attack, and we concede from it as well. And we must be the only team in the league where we are actually more susceptible when we get a set piece, because it's straight away we're like
Texting up the pitch and scores,
has to make a save.
Well,
it's
Drew,
like you can take the watch to it.
Actually, last season we stopped sending Jack Robinson up front to throw the ball into the box, because every time he did it, we were on the back foot. I'm sure that must have happened, because that happened so many times.
It's mental.
Launched it into the box, nothing came of it, and then he's out of position, and you might have Egan who's gone up there out of position, and then you're struggling. So I'm completely with you there. I just want to throw this at you, Jimmy. Pompey's going to love this in a second. So are you ready for this? So highest rated from this game, we've got Wes a 7.6, Ollie Norwood a 7.4, then Cameron Archer, Bogle, and Harmer all 7.3s. Then we've got,
who gave those?
This is stats. This is not me.
Stats.
This is stats. Yes, this is FootMob. These are stats. Then we've got lowest rated Sousa 6.4, Thomas 6.4, and Bulldog 6.5.
No.
So you've got Sousa and Norwood a full point off each other. Does that? How does that resonate with? I'll go to Jimmy first, because I know what Pompey's going to say before he even says it.
I'm not. I don't read too much into the stats, to be honest. But if you're asking me in terms of how they differed in performance, I thought Sousa were really poor. To be honest, it was one of his worst games for us. I was disappointed. I thought, listen, and I might be doing lad an injustice, because he might have had it might be a serious injury, but that's not something we're used to. Players getting a little knee in the back. Jack Robinson would not have been walking off holding his back like Sousa did. It's just not the Sheffield United way, to coin a popular phrase. But so apologies if he's legitimately broken his spinal column or whatever he's done, but it didn't look like a serious injury to me. So I was disappointed that. I think his general play I can see it in spurts with Sousa, where he has got quality, and you can see why there's a little shining light. He did a lovely little, I can't remember who it were against now, but he dropped the shoulder and did a lovely little shimmy past somebody the other week. And I think there's a player in there, definitely, and he's got all the attributes in terms of your physical presence and stuff. He just doesn't put all the pieces together for me, and certainly not consistently enough. He's had a lot more 6 out of 10s than he has 7 or 8s for me. I don't think Norwood were that much better, if I'm totally honest. But I think the whole team were poor for 70 minutes. Bogle made the highlights package because he got the assist for the goal, and he missed it weren't really a sitter, but he missed a chance that he should have been hitting target with. And I think for the rest of the game, going backwards, Bogle were atrocious, if I'm honest.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it was.
And I would never give George a 6.5, because I think George puts it in every game, and wears his heart on his sleeve, and he doesn't always go his way. But I think he's much better than 6.5. So I disagree with some of the ratings, mate. But yeah, I haven't been overly impressed.
I think with George, we've got to put into perspective that he's playing out of position, and I know he's playing on that right hand side, but he's still playing out of position because the ball's going in behind him, because he's not used to playing so centrally. So I think there were a lot of holes in our defence, but again, you've got to look into the fact that these players haven't played too many games together. You've got one lad playing out of position in George. You've got Jayden Bogle. I think Hecky came out and said he's suffering with some sort of injury as well. So there could be another injury in there. Hopefully, the international break sorts a lot of these injuries out, and we get kind of an L back. We get Ollie McBurney back. There's a few players in there as well. Max Lowe was on the bench as well, which we're all absolutely buzzing about. Yeah,
we're a lot more buzzing than we thought we were going to be, aren't we? Let's be right. But with Baldock, I saw a stat online that something like with the 5 games that Baldock started, we've got all 5 points. 7 games he hasn't, 0 points. And it just shows what an influence he is in our team. And I think he does make a big difference.
Did you notice also with when we bring in the back sort of five into consideration here, you had Thomas and Bogle were playing too narrow for me. Their wingers were almost they almost had the chalk on their boots. They were that wide, and when the ball was kicked across the pitch to them, there was about 10 or 15 meters to close the gap. By which time they got it under control and they were coming at Bogle. And Bogle is incredibly flat-footed when he doesn't set himself right. He's very easy to go past, and that's where the first goal came from. He just did him. He did him for skill and did him for pace, and he was on goal. And there's a comment there. Do you drop Bogle? I'll tell you what. Why not shift Bogle up the pitch and put him into midfield? Because
everybody says that. Everybody says that. And it never happens. I'm with you, Pompey. I'm completely with you. I'm not laughing at you here. I'm saying that everybody says it and it never seems to happen. So I don't know why nobody wants to try it.
When Anel comes back, Baldock obviously in his trusted right wing back position because he's bloody good at that. And then have Bogle as a runner off Baldock going up that channel. And then you can bring Anel back as a support. Go back to our first principles where we used to have the overlapping centre backs because the overload was what it was all about. 3 players against 2 or 3, and then you had that kind of that trio of players that was working it up the flanks. I mean, if we can bring that in, obviously we've got to play wingers then, and everybody says we haven't got wingers, and I do think that Bogle's more happier. He's more happier attacking than he is defending. Exactly what Jimmy said. Going backwards, he's absolutely shocking. He's so easily beaten.
I think a lot of it is probably him worrying about having to defend. So if you just completely take that out of his game, say, you don't need to worry about defending. You've got Anel there. You've got Baldock there. You stay high up the field, do what you do well, and maybe that'll give him more confidence in attacking as well, because I think sometimes his attacking's not great. There was one moment where we'd been under the cosh pretty much the whole second half. I think it might have been either just before the red card or just after. And Harmer went round him, overlapped him brilliantly into a really good position, and he just overhit the pass straight out of play. Yeah, such an easy pass to do. Underhit it rather than overhit it because it would... Whatever happens, he's going to be able to get a ball into the box. And just little moments like that sometimes where they just kind of... Yeah, they just take their eye off the ball and just...
We haven't mentioned Gus Harmer either, have we? And I don't know what the consensus opinion about Gus Harmer is. When he had a sky blue shirt on last season, he was an outstanding threat. He was an attacking midfielder who was going at people and going round people and just causing havoc in that sort of zone where he attacks. I don't think we've even begun to play him and exploit him as he should be now. He's got his shovel out at the moment. He's digging us out of problems, and by 70 minutes he's knackered. He's not given the envelope to move into, to attack, to run at their back four and create these little passing channels. Where last season we were like, when we played Coventry, we were like, that Harmer looks good. Why don't we sign him? And that was because he was attacking our back three with exactly the tactics that he's denied now because he's not in that position. We play best when we've got McAtee one side and Harmer on the other side in that advanced position, supporting the single striker. We've capitalised on that, and what we've got to have is 2 decent midfielders behind them who are going to hold the fort, to make sure that breakout doesn't come in, and also to feed them the passes.
Absolutely. Completely agree with that, Pompey. Before you all go, I just want to ask quickly, Hecky in, Hecky out. Drew? Jimmy, don't you shake your head.
Okay, I'm current. I mean, to be fair, I am before these games I was Hecky out, but I'm still probably leaning more to Hecky out, if I'm being honest.
Oh, so it was a good question then, yeah, Jimmy?
Yeah.
No, it's a ridiculous question, and you know exactly what you're doing with this question.
Hecky,
we're supposed to be mates.
Jimmy, are you still Wilder and Hecky out?
Seem very loaded.
100%, mate. Yeah. Well, I've got my sign. I've just put my sign down to come. My shoes are going off in car park.
Is it right next to your Nigeria flag as well?
Fair.
Oh, it was right there. It needed to be said.
I've got a Saudi flag on order, so we're all right. We'll be okay.
That's all good. That's all good. Yeah, I'm only having a bit of a laugh here, but at the same time,
can I ask, Nick, are you Hecky out or Hecky in?
Well, this is what I'm about to say. I think the real question is the real question is that the last two games, are they enough for us to say we are happy with Hecky being in a job for the rest of the season? Because there's two games there, one where we've been given a penalty in the last minute. If that stays 1-1 and we take 1 point at home to Wolves, and then we go and lose against Brighton because nobody expected us to Brighton to be down to 10 men.
No result.
Lose. If we come away with a 1-1 draw against Wolves and then a defeat, we are probably still saying Hecky out. So we're going to have to do something in these next two games against Bournemouth. I think we need 4 points against Bournemouth and against Burnley. And I'm happy with Hecky staying in a job.
I would say
if we don't get 4 points, you are Hecky. The other way to look at that, Nick, would be if we don't get 4 points in the next two games, you're Hecky out.
I would say possibly, yeah.
His position is very, very. He's on thin ice. If we don't get at least 2 points out of the next two games, he's on very, very thin ice indeed. The thing is about the Wilder thing is I'm unsure about what Wilder can bring. I know we've had some fantastic times under Chris Wilder without a shred of a doubt, but he left us on a downswing, and we're on this downswing still, and I'm still not sure. Wilder's got a specific style of play with Sheffield United, and if we continue to play like he expects us to play, we haven't got the team that we had 4 years ago when we came up. You know, we were the surprise element of that promotion run, and we didn't have shock a lot of teams when we appeared. Now, Wilder has had his wings clipped with several other clubs, and he's going to come back to a team that's on a downswing again. And I'm not really convinced exactly what he can actually bring to the game that Hecky is struggling to bring to the game. And when you think about it, Hecky is a Wilder disciple. He's been playing practically the same formation since Wilder left. And look at the state of the squad at the moment. You know, I don't think we're even sort of 60% of the skill and determination and cutting edge that we had in Wilder's promotion to the Premiership side. So I'm struggling to think that if Wilder does appear at the front gates of Bramall Lane with Hecky exiting the other way, exactly how that's going to change things. I will say this, I don't know any other manager that can fix that, because we are so bereft of talent. And I'm sorry, players, if you're watching this, that's how the fans, I think, see it. You know, we're expecting this drubbing week after week because we lack this Premier League ability to take the game by the scruff of the neck and make it ours.
I think if any of the players are watching it, they're probably not watching it 58 minutes into it. So I think we're safe. I think we're all right. But anyway, I think this is for another day. I think talking about the Wilder Hecky, and that day was probably 2 or 3 weeks ago. Okay. But what we will say is we've got two massive games coming up after the international break. What do we reckon we're picking up from them, Drew? I want to start with you. What are you thinking? Because obviously we could have Ollie McBurney back, we could have Anel back, and it could be a completely different Sheffield United side that plays against Bournemouth at Bramall Lane.
It's difficult. I'd like to say, I want to say 6. I think 4 is a minimum. Whether that's we beat Burnley, we draw with Bournemouth. It's hard to say, but I think, you know what, stick my neck on the line. I say 6 points. Let's get 6 points.
Very, very well done, Pompey. Do you want to go for a 6?
No, I think we're going to be struggling to get 6. I think if we get 4 points, you know, we'll be lucky. I think the Burnley game is going to be a very, very difficult game for us to get over. Bournemouth, we may win, we may beat them, or we'll draw. But the Burnley game is going to be I think we're going to suffer badly. I can't see us beating them. I really can't.
What about you, Jim?
I agree. I think I can see an argument. I can't see us getting 6 points. I can see an argument for us getting 1 point. I can see an argument for us drawing at home to Bournemouth and losing at Burnley. But I think we can beat Bournemouth at home, and I think we can go to Burnley and take something. So I'm going to say 4 points.
If we don't get 4, I think
more out of hope than expectation.
Yeah, I think we're all going to write Bournemouth off before the game, and Bournemouth are. You know what? They've
Bournemouth
just
are good.
a really
Bournemouth
good
are really good.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Somebody took Mickey out of me on prediction show for saying that Bournemouth were going to pick up eventually, and I think if you watch that Newcastle game, Newcastle were depleted. Don't get me wrong, but they played really well, and I hope that's not them turning a corner, but it could well be. If they beat us, they seal us in. They seal us in, and we will really struggle.
Yeah, that's very true. Because after that point against Brighton, I was thinking, do you know what? Let's have a look at this league table. It doesn't look much better, to be honest, with Bournemouth picking those 3 points up. So we certainly
going for the win was so important. Going for those 3 points was vital.
We need to drag other teams into the relegation scrap. That's the thing about it. We can't allow a 4-point gap, 5-point gap to start opening out, because all we're doing is
playing away already. Pompey, how far away are Fulham and Palace?
I know, but once that starts to, like you said, seal us into that bottom 3, we're not going to recover whatsoever. The players' heads are going to drop. The crowd are going to get on their backs, and before you know it, Eki's out and Fat Sam. No,
please don't. I don't think I can handle that. Oh man.
I'd rather have Big Sam than Fat Sam, because I'm not sure who Fat Sam is.
Or a Jesse
sort of American Diner or something.
No, it's Fat Sam.
Yeah.
Oh, nice. But
I think that's a good place to leave it. Thank you very much, gents, for joining me this evening. It's been fantastic.
Thank you so much.
It's been, I would say, the best Live Fans React we've ever done.
Oh,
100%.
Thank you.
Yeah, 100%.
Thank you very much for watching. Pardon?
Hal who?
Exactly. Exactly.
remember it.
Hal who?
Yeah.
He's not watching this anyway. Actually, yeah, he is. He's putting this up as a podcast, so he's listening to it right now. So sorry, Hal. I want you to do the rest of these. I don't want to do these every week. Right. Thanks for watching, guys. Thanks, Drew. Thanks, Jimmy. Thanks, Pompey. And we will see you very, very soon. See you
Up the
guys.
blades.